Welcome to MSP 1337. I'm your host, Chris Johnson, a show dedicated to cybersecurity challenges, solutions, a journey together, not alone. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of MSP 1337. I'm joined this week by Dor Eisner. Dor, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me, Chris.
Hey, so you're with Guards. You're another one of those vendors in the space of security platforms to help augment what is happening in, say, a client environment. And as we were talking earlier, you said the biggest challenge MSPs face is the siloing of data or of information related to like threat intelligence. Is, it lives in all these different silos. Talk to me a little bit about, I agree with you out of the gate, right? Like this is a conversation that seems to come up all the time. But I have a question on that before we dive into it. And the question is, we see this direction happening where solution providers consolidate and they go all in on one stack. Something bad happens and they're like, I'll never do that again. And now they have 35, 40 vendors. And obviously there's some sort of middle ground that probably will end up being settled on. But I feel like we're doing this back and forth. It's almost like a pendulum swing where we go all in one vendor, and then the next day it's I have a vendor for every possible scenario. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's the balance,
Yeah.
because if you have dozens of different point solutions in your stack, you are losing context anyway. And
Sure.
if you have one vendor that is trying to do everything, you are losing trust because it's very difficult to do everything and be good in everything that you are doing.
Sure.
So we by the way, we took a different approach. We didn't develop all the security controls themselves. Like, for example, our endpoint protection is backed by Sentinel-1 as the best EDR, best of breed EDR out there. Our email security is backed by top vendors. Like, I won't go into the details, but
Sure.
we took an approach that we will bring the best of breed security controls, what will build the normalization layer and the correlation layer that can actually take all the detections and correlate it into an identity first detection and response in a unified approach where all the data comes in, all the detections comes in the same place, and then threat intelligence infused, and then AI obviously comes into the game, and we can actually provide a better detection and response all around. So it's not about, there are vendors that are trying to do everything, from the ground up, all the security controls and stuff like that. I don't think this is the right approach. And from the other end,
Sure.
I don't think that this is the right approach to go and to work with 10 different vendors on 10 different point solutions, because the attackers, the bad guys, they are not siloing their attack methods.
Right.
Why won't you silo your detection or your security controls?
Yeah, and I think it's, I think about the average MSP probably has, not much more than 5 to 10 employees, and that's a relatively large MSP in today's world. As we look at the volume, I mean, yes, there's those outliers that are much bigger than that, but I can't imagine today being an MSP trying to, navigate things as simple or seemingly as simple as AWS having a DNS challenge, right? Well, what do you tell your client? Yeah, it's DNS. I mean, all the things that we've seen in the news, the first thing that comes to a client's mind is not that it's simple and it's a DNS problem or some sort of, power outage, right? Like they already assume the worst. And so if, as an MSP, I would think that it would be very difficult today to start, narrowing down the different places that they have information siloed in to go, oh yeah, we were able to figure it out. It only took, 4 hours.
Yeah, it's not, and it's, just to double click on what you just described, it's not just that, it's also the day-to-day operations of an MSP, because, even if you take like simple things that are happening every day, like a user reported on a phishing, and clicked on the phishing button and reported
Sure.
phishing. Now you as an MSP, if you have all those silo tools, You need to go and you need to investigate this email. You need to check in your email filtering, what happened. And
Yeah.
then you need to go to your Microsoft 365 identities and to check if something malicious is happening on the different identities. If someone else received the same email and
Yeah.
clicked it, and then go check on all the devices. This investigation will take you a few hours in the best case scenario. And if you have the
Yeah.
silo tools, you are lost in this investigation day in, day out. If you have the unified approach, you get all the data, all the investigation, and managed in one place.
So talk to me a little bit. We tend to avoid talking in depth about vendor products and services, but I think you hit on something that I think is really important, that unification, that unified approach. The amount of information that every MSP is consuming is dwarfed in today's world from what we saw 10, 15 years ago, right? Like the volume of data that we can look at if we choose to is just exponentially consuming terabytes of space somewhere, right? And it's in the cloud, so it doesn't exist. But one of the things that I think is really interesting about today is that so many MSPs, if they're focusing a little bit on a cybersecurity posture, they're maturing their organization. They're like, hey, even if I'm not using this for external facing, I'm just doing it internally. All of those different platforms that they might use, they have to start considering that if they don't use a tool like, say, Guards, or a platform like Guards, well, then they're missing out. And not only are they missing out, but they're likely not able to comply with many of the frameworks that are out there that say, hey, you need to have centralized, place to get that information. It needs to get aggregated into one, central repository. Are you seeing that shift, like for Guards,
Absolutely,
happening?
absolutely, absolutely. And I think that, as we continue to build the technology and to adapt more AI innovation into our life, and especially, obviously AI came to our life in the last year or two, but now I see MSPs starting to think about, the AI inflection point. And once AI will come into, a production in MSP environments, the data and the data lake and the correlation between the data AI is only as good as the data, that
Sure.
is actually, researching and investigating and building on top of that. And I think that this is becoming the biggest challenge and also the biggest opportunity for MSPs about how you correlate the data, how you store all of your detections from all the different places, and not built on the SIEM, because the SIEM is is end of life, as we see it, like it's a big statement, but the same as it used to be, it's not really scalable, it's not really built,
Sure.
for the evolution of cybersecurity, and especially not for the SMB market. So
Right. It's purpose built, right? Like I think, talking about AI is obviously a word that we love throwing around. Like if you submit a topic to an event to speak at, odds are if you throw the word AI in your title or description, there's a good chance that it'll get selected because it, hit the algorithm that they're looking for. But interestingly enough, with AI, there's so many extremes out there, right? Viewpoints on whether or not you should or shouldn't use AI, how to use it, why you shouldn't turn on Copilot, but you should turn on fill in the blank. But what you're talking about is uniquely different in the sense that you're choosing to use an AI functionality that's being purpose built to help enhance the sifting through data, that data what you are choosing to pull in to have AI look at versus an AI that we often traditionally see. Oh my, cut out there for a second. That we traditionally see from a user perspective, where there's no real purpose behind it, right? Like they're just like, hey, if I ask it this question, what kind of answer am I going to get? So it lacks real purpose.
yeah, yeah. I lost your video, by the way, absolutely right, Chris. At the end of the day, AI will change the way we operate, that will change the way we deliver cybersecurity, and also will change the way we can actually show the value. And it's all about MSPs these days should think about how AI can change their way of delivering cybersecurity and improve their operational efficiency. If you focus, because focus is the most important thing. If you focus on AI use cases across too many things,
Yeah.
you will lose it. Just focus on how it's going to be better delivery of cybersecurity and how it's going to improve your operational efficiency, gross margin, and day-to-day technician operations, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones is that I've seen in the wild is the automation, like the ability to take, level one, what would be like a level one help desk ticket, this, like reset password. Like humans are more likely to hallucinate and do it wrong. Once you get the AI dialed in, it's going to just keep following the same routine.
And think about, I will give you on the same specific use case. Think about, like all the credentials leaked in the wild. Like, obviously, dark web threat intelligence is exist for a decade, but
Sure.
an MSP started to leverage it in the last few years and, making sure that, their customers' credentials are not leaked in the wild. And there are few dozens of different vendors out there,
Yeah.
offering you some kind of, we'll show you all the credentials that are leaked in the wild. But we took it to the next level, and I think this is where MSP should take it, because today you get this feed from from the X vendor, and then you need to talk with your user in this client and ask him,
Hmm.
did you change your password recently? Okay, thumbs up. Okay, I will make sure that this is this ticket is closed, and this whole cycle will be kind of a manual approach. And the power of a unified approach and AI innovation is like this can be an agent that is doing the work for you if you have the right data, you have the right identities, you have the right user base, and you can close the loop all around.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I don't know why my camera keeps cutting out. It's weird. It's like all of the extra devices are disconnecting from my computer.
You need
One
a
of my
unified
hub.
approach. Chris, you need a
Yeah,
unified approach to record your podcast.
yeah. I think my docking station is actually the issue here. So it might be time to put in a new one. Ever since I got a new computer. So I was thinking about what you said, going back to the beginning of our conversation about the silos. Are there specific silos that you can think of that MSPs are really challenged with?
Yeah. I think that identity, email, devices, data, and awareness are the 5 silos that are happening
Sure.
today in most MSPs. And the vision is just to connect the dots and make sure that it's working as a one mesh, it's a one focus. And the focus should be the identity, because like traditional security was all about the endpoint. And
Sure.
endpoint, like the perimeter obviously, and the endpoint is kind of starting to be very, very easy to protect, and the identity is becoming much more complicated to protect because identity is everywhere. And basically traditional MDRs even, focus on the endpoint, and that's what drives, the MSP industry to put such a big focus on the endpoint. And we see in the last 2 years a dramatic shift into the identity. And I think that if you take all of your data, all of your security controls, and tied it into the user, you will have much better context, much better detection and response mechanism to tackle the threats of today and the threats of tomorrow.
Yeah, it's definitely a landscape that bears the what is an asset. I don't know what you're seeing out there besides my camera just cut out again, but the asset one is really interesting. So when we see MSPs going through the Trustmark program, they're not bad at identifying like their service providers. They're not bad at understanding the applications that they need in their environment to run their business. But when you ask them to identify all of their assets that are physical, things start to get more complicated, and they start to go down this rabbit hole of like, well, does my cell phone count? Well, yeah, if that cell phone has access to data, then yes, that cell phone counts. And I would say a large percentage of MSPs going through the program, inventory of assets is one of those that takes them the longest. And they're, MSPs are engineers, right? So they want it to be perfect. And I heard it said once, if you can get your asset inventory to 80%, that's pretty darn good, and start focusing on the other things. to your point, because you're talking about focusing on the identity, you can put a lot more guardrails in place because you understand the behavior. You're now looking at more than just one thing. I have a laptop. It's a Dell or whatever it is. It's like, okay, we've identified it, but you're not able to tell me any more than that if that's the focus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The focus should be MSP should think, everything that we are doing in security, how it ties into the identity.
Yeah,
And this is an important shift in mind, like that we see and we believe and we push forward as we believe this is where the industry should go. We see it, also this trend coming, from the big cybersecurity players like Palo Alto that
yeah,
acquired, a company like CyberArk, like big identity provider,
sure.
and this consolidation in the enterprise market is happening for a reason. Even Palo Alto, the biggest cybersecurity vendor in the world, sees our identity is coming into the critical path of cybersecurity. And if you have the best firewall, if you have the best cloud security, if you have the best EDR, whatever, it's not good enough anymore.
Sure. So when this episode goes live, it will be hours before the first session happens at IT Nation Connect Global. I know you're going to be there. Is there anything specific that you're looking forward to at IT Nation this year?
Yeah, we have some big plans, big launch in the IT Nation this year. We are going to launch our new AI agents across all the different controls and for the operational efficiency that we just discussed. We are planning to come with some new innovation around the email security, APIs, and stuff like that. And all together, we are coming in a very strong force to IT Nation because we believe that this is the time for MSPs to shift, and to adapt a new approach to cybersecurity. And we believe that guards is the right way to do it. And we support our MSPs. And we just launched a new community package that we are giving guards for free for any MSP that would like to protect his business with guards and start operating, see the report, see the value, get his business protected, and grow from there.
That's great. I love to hear stuff like that. I love it when vendors are giving back to the community because I think together we are more resilient, and that's the mission that this podcast has, and the mission I think of the organization that I work for. Those of you that know me at GTIA, Dor, this has been a great insight both into guards and into the viewpoint around the silos that MSPs are facing. For those of you listening, this has been an episode of MSP 1337. Thanks and have a great week.